When he closed the door behind him, the sound of rain and thunder seemed to become distant, empty. The water dripping from his body wet the floor. The cat, shook his head, scattering the droplets of water to the walls and the furniture. Oh, shit! Out of a mushroom head, which stood by the door. No the fur on their ears and tails, and the hair and the skin of their arms. He carefully licked his damp fur. With his rough tongue his ears twitched in response to the thunder that usually hit them. He took up his teeth and tried to become a bit taller. Using his teeth, he untangled the fur. Then he used his hands to while licking his fingers, Kanoe turned his gaze to the window. Rain still poured outside. He had heard a scream outside earlier. Whose scream was it? This time, someone had probably been eaten. Oh no. One by one, cats were disappearing. It was not the doing of devils or demons, but of the other cats of the village. It had become natural these days.
I
mean, worrying about it won't help anything, he muttered, trying to fend off those thoughts. There were not a thing in... This was the erosion caused by the void. No one had stopped it. Oh, so that's why I'm being so depressing about it. Kanoe noticed the bag he'd thrown at the... Sorry, buddy. Kanoe noticed the bag he'd thrown to the floor and began to open it up with his long claws. The bag was wet and now began to shrink, so its contents were difficult to remove. He checked inside. It contained nuts, grass roots, and medicinal herbs he had changed when he'd gone out to hunt, just like those kinds of things. Nuts and berries were favorite foods among cats, and their bodies could thrive even without eating some of those. Therefore, there weren't many times where a cat felt like the cat. That didn't mean that they didn't need to eat some meat, though. But now, hunting for meat was difficult. The forest and the village were being attacked by the void. The void. It was such a mysterious phenomenon. Apparently, it had begun around the time Kanoe was born. A young female cat who had entered the forest to gather herbs and first noticed the void. When she returned to the village, her hand was stained in a deep red. Tears falling onto her cat fingers, she said, "I didn't pick the herbs. I didn't touch them. Something like a knife cut my fingers." At first, no one understood what she meant. There was a plant called blade grass, so called because its long, thin leaves had cut one's fingers and become brown. The cats of Cairo thought that she had chopped it to make grass, but it really research. Wow. How you like the map, man? Who would have guessed it would have such a nightmare? Eventually, the other cats began to experience the same thing. Soon, every living thing in the forest was dangerous to touch, as invisibly so but the plants, the birds, the bugs, and the butterflies, none of them could be touched, as if they were rejected cats. As if matter itself had been rejected by reality. Cats were rejected by the earth. All breathing things in the forest seemed to know touching them had to be consequence. Even the creatures began to reject them. They did not have to be bugs. Like a sickness that destroyed a body completely, the void slipped its edges into the center of the electrical system. For ordinary humans, the void had not reached the center yet, but the area where Kanoe was located was breathing its last breaths. Often, they would search the forest for places untouched by the void, just like plants. Mice and birds were not dangerous to cats either. Maybe escaping from a forest that had already fallen into the void. Cats who attacked them were paralyzed with pain. Some even died. The food stores soon began to run out. What could starving cats eat? Kanoe broke that chain of fat and regarded what things he gathered, then tossed them into a stovetop. He wasn't hungry, but he was thirsty, so Kanoe moved to the barrel of water. This is that tasty little kitty. Aww. He opened it up, dipped his head down, and lapped up some water. Once he was done, Kanoe covered the barrel again and began to stretch. His eyelids felt heavy. Being out in the rain this long would probably make him sick. He should rest. Kanoe wiped his lips and returned to bed. Kanoe finished dreaming and curled up under the blanket. He breathed in the familiar scent of home. His eyes closed. His tail curled around his body. For a moment, the scream echoed in his head, but he dismissed the thought. Kanoe huddled down, alone. But he wasn't lonely. In fact, he was used to the solitude. Today was cold. Maybe tomorrow would be bright and warm, and he could dry off. With these thoughts in mind, Kanoe fell asleep. Just like he wanted, the next day was warm. He woke up, stretched out, and began to groom himself. Then he took his wet bag and coat and hung them up to dry in the light of the day's warmth, or whatever it said. He put on his clothes, picked up a nut to eat, and went outside to begin his daily routine by inspecting his territory. On the southwest side of Sisa was the village named Karo. The male cats here were raised from birth to be strong fighters, but after the arrival of the void, just surviving took all of their strength. The village seemed silent and dead. There were homes here and there, but it was rare to see cats outside. They kept to themselves. Kanoe finished looking over his territory and returned home. By then, the moon of light had already begun to set. Sisa did not have a sun, just a moon of light and a moon of shadow. No one really knew why, and it had been this way since the dawn of the Rebeccan race. According to a legend, the sun sank into the sea long ago. Sisa, where the Rebecca lived, was surrounded on all sides by a sea that was colored golden, supposedly colored by the fallen sun. Instead of the sun, they now had two moons, the blah 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 and the blah 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 blah. From the west, the moon of light rose and shone brightest at noon, while the moon of shadow. From the west, the moon of light rose and shone brightest at noon, while the moon of shadow rose from the east to look over the earth after dark. So it had been passed down from generation to generation. When the sun fell into the sea, the world was shrouded in darkness. The wife of our God divided the moon into two, so that it would always shine down on our world. Cain was said to be the god who shaped this world. It was said that he was named so because he walked on legs like two sticks. He was sometimes also called Solid Leg. The name of the race, the Rebecca, came from the name of his god's wife, who was said to have the shape of a cat. The Rebecca knew what cats looked like from reading ancient texts left by the two kings. Despite the difference in size, their ears and tails were the same, and so the Rebecca called one another cats. But what two Cain looked like was something long forgotten. Only the name gave the cats a clue as to what he could look like. Kanoe headed towards the village with the light of dusk warm on his back. Oh my god, I cannot read for shit. I'm gonna stop it right here.